Hey, so we're just going to review one of the best raids that's happened on Whitemane in a while when it comes to Alliance Naxx Speed clears. These guys absolutely blasted, and there's a lot to talk about with it. I'm going to try and summarize as much as I can in a shorter period of time without going too deep into the log analysis side of things, but if that's something you guys want me to look into more, we definitely can. But to me, we still need to just go over some of the basics, who this is, that kind of stuff. I haven't really talked about them before. Land Before Time has definitely become the premier speedrun group on Era right now with the content that they're clearing. And they just have a lot of consistency and are doing the basic stuff right. I was really impressed with this raid overall, with just the overall structure, how things seem to be going, and I think this is the kind of raid group that is going to have long-term consistency just based on who's in the raid, right? Once you get to this point on Era, a lot of the good players are often looking for raids like this, and I notice a lot of the different same names that you see in a lot of the good runs, right? Like that's just the reality of how it goes. Some of these people I'm not super familiar with, but some of them might be on alts that I just don't realize, right? That's kind of the fun thing about having so many characters at this point on Era. What stands out to me is how they don't do a whole ton of tech, and the tech that they do. So, first thing to me is interesting to note just the perspective here that we're watching, which is a tank raid lead. Always interested to watch the tank raid lead point of view, and you see the sacrifice that he's making for the raid off the bat. Everyone starts logging in right away, and who does not have battle shout? The one guy that has to do all the groups and stuff. He could go on a different character and do it all, but it's just such a pain. I totally relate. It's interesting to me to note the consumables as well. You guys are jealous on Fresh for a lifestyle like this. It feels good, and this is why I really hope that the debuff and buff cap never come to classic Era compared to Fresh. I get it, but yikes. You guys are living in hell compared to what the speedrun meta is like on Era. This is not a full blast where like absolutely everything is going, but you see here, he doesn't need a whole ton. As long as this raid goes cleanly, he's going to be just fine. I would recommend like maybe bringing some more stuff. I'm not sure if he's keeping track of any loot or what, but um, if things go wrong, maybe like one or two extra stacks of something. But at the same time, if things go wrong, you just go rebuff. That's just kind of how it goes. So from what I'm seeing here, I think the consumables being brought is totally fine for dying multiple times and still having a decent raid. And the reality is, if everyone brings stuff like this, hopefully you'd be able to have a couple of people share amongst themselves and it'd be totally fine. Doesn't have flash set. That's the big thing that is like the bag space saving compared to what you're seeing here. Just a couple items of mitigation as well, not like a full set of mitigation. So that's the nice thing about off taking compared to being the main tank and having more gear swaps. Um, this is a main tank capable player, I'd say. Good warrior perspective. But again, the things to note to me is just some of the lack of tech. They just do the standard start here. It's funny to see. I'm not sure why there's a dead dwarf like that. I guess maybe they tried to. I don't know. It's hilarious, actually. But anyways, yeah, they just AoE and lip shout that first pack, and then run straight forward. I think that their pressing W is definitely an area of improvement. This first pack is great, the way that they go from the first to the next. I feel like that pace and strategy is lost at some different points. They absolutely blasted down this first boss. The level of damage is pretty insane. Like they needed to start moving like as soon as they pulled basically, which is tough as the tank. I'm trying to, but I guess never mind. Moving forward here, good AoE shouts, easy peasy. AoE shouts, they just cleave, pump, pump, pump. They pull both of these at once, couple good dummies. Everyone gets bopped there, that's the mages, so super safe from the mage perspective. And they don't do the Fairlena pull. So that's the crazy part to me, is some of the stuff that you're going to see later, like Saph Polarity, that goes super well. I'll just spoil it. It's really good Saph Polarity. And then you see no Fairlena Petri pull. So typically in a speed run, this is one of like the easiest big time saves. So it really interests me that's not the case here. I'm pretty sure that Mika has done it before, and pretty sure Chapo maybe as well. This is the scariest point at the start here when it comes to trash damage that they dealt with. They were getting hit by multiple of these volleys on some people, and then they AoE shot the skitters on the side. Everyone focuses on these, and additional volleys go out. Everyone got hit by a volley there. There's one priest that was really, really struggling on mana. Otherwise, the groups were doing pretty well overall. Fairlena goes well. Again, they absolutely blast it down. It's just so interesting to me. Lots of people still having Death Wish up. Just wondering why they don't do the Fairlena pull. Again, I guess I just do have to give that background where I'm not super familiar with this raid. Um, I've never raided with this raid group. I don't think with this raid leader. I'm not 100% on that. That's kind of the cool thing. Don't feel like Era is super, super tiny. There are some different raids at different times, right? That's the cool thing as well. Different days when people can play or people can't. Okay, so setting up for Mexna. Tomfoolery tanks it. Gets a pre-land hands. That's helpful. I don't think it's necessary, but this is a scary boss that you do want to have Death Wish running into. And he last stands pretty early here. He gets hit once or twice and just last stands for safety, which I think is smart. Also gives you a bit of threat doing that. And yeah, he's blasting. So threat was not a concern here. In the final 30% of this, if you're ahead on threat, my recommendation would be putting on a shield. Like, if threat is this big of a benefit, an enraged boss at the end, I have seen it kill just through insane stuff. So he swaps back and forth between shield and not shield. I don't know. Personally, I would be scared. Anyways, I've just seen like one or two 500 please where the guy just falls apart in like 3 hits, and maybe that's because he was wearing more PvP gear. I don't know, but anyways, they do this tech here as far as pulling some A-bombs after they've killed the first pack of gargoyles. So they all get kind of owned here. Everyone wants to have high uptime, so they connect with the first mob right when it does its cleave, and that's a really scary amount of damage that went out. Zugway almost dies here, gets down to like 1k health. So again, this is another big scary point of damage. Often time where people die in speedruns. Noth is standard, easy peasy. 4 decurses in this raid, and they did it just fine. But again, I would recommend 5 minimum. They kill the boss in the ideal spot so that they can just continue forward. Hopefully a speedrun always has this level of damage. If you don't, you really shouldn't be doing your speedrun at this point. It's not really a speedrun. They go into Lotheb. Ramses tanks it with Deathwish to start, which to me is a little scary. I do see a ton of healers though. So again, shows to me that they're not going super, super crazy here. Some of the speedruns will have like 3 or 4 healers, which I think is silly, but Phase 7 pulled it off with like a 0 healer raid before. Obviously, it had like perfect RNG, but it is possible to do Lotheb with just a couple healers if you have a good Diamond Flask set and a couple other tricks up your sleeve. But that's not what these guys are doing. They just got D-Flask, I think. I'm not going to look, but I would assume. Basically, everyone is using D-Flask for Lotheb. If you're not, you're doing something wrong. So the all Death Wish, pump it down. Death Knight Wing goes pretty well. I like their strategy that we're going to see on Resuvius. All this trash are just melting. Let's see how long it took them to lose the debuff. So the spore is just so powerful. They still have spores, they're killing all these ads. So things are just melting. Well, not all, but it's just starting to fall off. So they get to about here where healers can now heal. Pretty far. Decent. If you get past like the main doorway where the first 4-pack is, I think that's solid. So yeah, in Resuvius, they call to drop at like 5%, which is the standard speedrun strat. But again, just like the different levels of risk versus reward to me is interesting to see. I could just get so afraid on this boss. I feel like there definitely could be more overlap. So Skull starts, and then Square gets it at what, like 60%? Overlap them more. Have another priest do an extra just for safety would be my recommendation. If you have this level of damage. Again, this is not typical in any means, but this is just an extremely high level of damage that you're seeing. They had another ad to work with, and the idea is that you want to use the ad for safety if you know that you don't need it because you're hitting so hard. So again, yeah, they call to dummy here at the end. They unmind control the ad, and it works, but it's definitely scary. So it's funny to me. This is good comms. I just want to listen to this right here in a second.
Okay. Kill X, kill X, kill X, kill X, kill X. Nice. Off tanks need to demo shout these axes too. The whirlwind's physical.
Okay, so notice how he says off tanks need to demo shot the axis. His communication is so clear, but people just have it in their head to demo shout, and the next pack gets demo shouted when it's staves that don't do melee damage. So it's just so hard to have like perfect things to say during this, because people just act differently. Like that pack was only probably demo shouted because he said the word demo shot previously, but again, the staves didn't need it. So just funny little moment there that I thought was interesting. So they do gate pulls. They pull one set of gargoyles. This is the toughest part of the gate pulls right here. So they all got hit kind of early. They needed to run farther in. Or maybe they didn't care too much, but if ideally you would be all more in the middle of the room, so that first spit would have not gotten nearly as many people. Some people didn't get hit, but some did. So then they drag him in the middle. They have a really high level of damage. They only got 4 stacks from that, which is not too bad at all. They do another ghoul pack. They get kind of screwed though up here. So again, they don't do another skip in Spiderwing when it comes to the rogue skip. Very few rogues are able to do that. But just to mention, um, because of that, they need to kill this only 1 pack of gargoyles here. Typically in a real speedrun, you have to kill 2 packs of gargoyles if you're doing the skip, which definitely saves time. So it makes Gothic more dangerous in the fashion that we're not seeing right here. And it's kind of unfortunate. If they had killed those gargoyles, they wouldn't have had to wait right here. This was one of their biggest time losses. Just unfortunate patrol and just like 10-15 seconds of sitting and not wanting to pull a pack. Then they run forward. They have a good 4 horsemen. The mages aren't able to finish off Ziliak in time. I see maybe 2 warriors on that. Warlocks 2 as well, 3 mages. The hunter as well. Looks like 3 warriors. I guess it's 2 DPS in the tank. But anyways, they get up to 6 stacks on some of these guys. Kuaz gets 6 stacks, kind of dangerous. But stayed in and finished it off. So props to Kuaz for getting hit by that 6-1 and surviving, understanding damage level. Um, moving forward here, A-bomb wing, last wing that they're doing. Definitely a fished wing. It's like all of the Belchers compared to the Retchers. They do the skip right here. Again, this is interesting to me how they do the slime skip. This is a very dangerous skip to pull off. If you fish a perfect ID, it's not nearly as dangerous compared to dealing with Retchers around here. People didn't realize that. Again, this is a fished ID. But yeah, this is still scary. This is high level strategy right here and trusting your mages that they're going to pump. Looks like Hatfield did a lot of damage. So yeah, they're just pressing W, moving forward, and they're almost done with trash now. It's all just pretty clean. They're just moving forward. So this always interests me when people pull Patchwerk from a distance. It's scary. So they're dual soaking, it looks like. 3 tanks in total. Could be a potential DPS increase if they just have 1 tank soak. Obviously a little scarier. If 1 tank dies here, it is pretty salvageable. If you're only 2 tanking it, it's not very salvageable. If only 1 person's left alive, it's guaranteed wipe basically. Unless all the melee run away and it's just a couple percentage left for the casters to kill. So yeah, they blast it down. Not much to say with Patchwerk. We could talk about DPS in more detail at some point, but again, more tech that they're not doing here. In a true speedrun, you'd have a paladin bring all these mobs into the corner, or you can have a character bring them away that's not a paladin. But anyways, that's not being done here. They just kill the mobs, and that's fine. I get it, but it's just interesting to see where the different tech that these guys doing and are not doing. Curious to see if they end up doing more soon, because everything that they're doing right now, they're nailing. Grob, super easy. This is their first death. So looks like a priest just walks down before the tank. You always want to make sure the first person that walks down is the tank. It's going to target whoever walked down first. So, unfortunate. Easy Gluth. Moving forward to the final boss before Saph. Nothing super sketch. Looks like one guy missed the jump. So something to note there. And now they're doing Saph Polarity. Thought the comms were really good, so we'll just listen to comms for a sec.
Okay. Sunder, BT, Rec, and then Lip. Sunder, BT, Rec, Lip. And get ready. Death Wish now. Sunder, BT, Rec. Okay. Sunder, BT. Yo, watch stripped. Rec, 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 and Lip, Lip, Lip. And get ready to dummy. Everybody dummy in front of the tank. Blizzard's perfect. Kill this bitch. Kill, kill, kill. Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, now they spread out. He calls out they have 10 seconds to spread. I thought that was like a perfectly executed Saph polarity. So take note. We can go over some more details of that. But from a raid leader perspective and making the calls, I thought that that was just really well done. So they frostpot for KT here. And KT has a couple of deaths, unfortunately. But it's one of those fights that RNG sometimes is just not in your favor. They basically all Death Wish right at the start and just blast it down as fast as they can. And then the off tanks pop their Death Wish later so that they can hopefully pick up the boss if it does a mind control. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Tomfoolery gets a single heal. He has a Frostpot on as well. Probably not much left on it, but just to note, unfortunate. So some people just didn't get healed. So 3 people died there. But yeah, that's it. Again, not going to go too into the logs here. The logs are insane. I'll link them in the description. We can go over those later. They had a lot of people with high damage. The biggest takeaway to me from the logs is that the mages were not super high, and they didn't one phase Ziliak, they had to run away. So I would kind of recommend that you drop the Warlock. Only need one Warlock in this raid. Um, Warlock died anyways, right? Why bring? Oh, he just Hellfired after. I'm kind of joking, um, but not joking about dropping the Warlock. Three mages, one Warlock, and bring something more useful, because the reality is that it's going to be just fine without that based on the levels of damage that you're seeing in this group. Anyways, just some thoughts. Thanks, guys. GG's.